and they come to you. Is it your job or their job, or do you help out to find that replacement that would fit their group, especially maybe just on touring?
Yeah. Yeah, we've had that situation occur with a few of our bands, and we as a company, we don't say, "Hey, we are responsible for finding the replacement." We will help if they need to. A lot of times, what will happen is we try to mediate and try to make sure that that's the right decision before they do that. And if it's a collective thing and they mutually want to part ways, they usually at that point will have somebody in mind and they'll say, "Hey, here's what we're thinking," and run it by us. It's not like we're going to say, "No, we don't want you," but it's good that they at least respect the process enough to say, "Hey, we're gonna go to Brian or Jesse or Tilla and make sure that it's that they are aware and if it's okay." So
yeah, because what if you're like, "I don't like the guy, he sucks."
yeah, and then we're
like on your roster,
right. But they do know. I mean, obviously, being that they're under management, under contract, and stuff like that, they know that bringing in a new dynamic is going to change things up. And so, it is really, they're doing their due diligence by making sure that they run it past us before kind of moving forward.
I saw that MVK does a whole lot of different things that you help out with bands, and recordings was one of them. So, and now you're not a label, you're a management team, and you also put MPK, was it MPKs? Is that what they're called?
EPKs, yeah.
EPKs, thank you. I got MVK, so EPKs. But when it comes to recording, not being a label, how do you help the bands with the recording process?
Yeah, so we actually have 4 in-house producers. I say that they're 4 the best, probably world-class producers on our team. So in-house with our artists, they can work with them. They can choose to work with them. We don't force them to work with them. They can work with any producer they want. And then anybody that comes to us and says, "Hey, I need to have a single, an EP, or an album produced," they can come to us and we can do a consultation and set them up. But, just to kind of shed some light on our producers. I mean, we have Toby Wright. Toby Wright produced pretty much all the early Alice in Chains, Metallica, Korn, Ozzy, Kiss, Slayer. So he's got a lot under his belt. David Dominguez, also out in LA. He's done Stain, Weezer, Guns N' Roses, Papa Roach, Stabbing Westward. We got Dave Hillis, who's done Afghan Wigs, Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog. He's done some of the Alice in Chains stuff as well. And then we got Peter Klett, who's here in Florida, and he did some of the Candlebox. He's also the founding guitarist of Candlebox himself.
Okay.
So, and that, as far as that goes, if somebody came to us and said, "Hey, I need to have, we want to produce an album, we want to do this, we want to work with them," we will make sure that we kind of match them with the producer that will probably best fit their criteria.
Right.
Start a consultation and get that going and get them into the studio. Or, during the pandemic, we were able to do things virtually as well. So.
Yeah, so during the pandemic, how did MVK Music Group, and were you guys able to sustain an income and a workflow with bands? Because I would assume as managers, do you help with the booking as well, like concerts and things like that?
Yeah, so we do to a certain degree. We always tell artists we're not a booking agency. Okay. If you have a booking manager, then they should be communicating with us. If we want you to work with a booking agency, booking manager, we have started the process of actually kind of building out in-house booking to a certain degree. But our booking assistants really are there to work with outside our booking partners that we work with on the outside. But we can help with that. We actually do event production. So we're actually, now that live shows are back here in Florida, we're back to putting on live events. We're now back to revisiting the multi-day festival we were going to put on. So, we can have our artists perform at those. And if there's, let's say around the Florida area, Southeast, we can build out tour runs and do things like that. But large scale, we try to partner with outside.
That's pretty cool, man. I think it's neat to have a management team on your level and doing some pretty cool things. And the bands that you guys have. I mean, I know Seasons. They've been on the show before. What do you look for? So I would assume I know what you look for when it comes to that style of music. Well, what kind of country would you say best fits? Let's say there's a country artist out there that's looking to get picked up by a management team and they're just not really finding what suits your country style of music.
Yeah. So, I'll take, for instance, our one country artist, Cody Weaver, right? The guy's phenomenal. So can command a crowd. Great. I mean, such a talented voice. But the one thing about Cody and what I really respect about him is he doesn't want to fall into that. Oh, I'm going to do what typical labels look for, is that what we call bro country or bubblegum country, right?
Uh-huh.
He brings in a lot of different influences. So, and a lot of times when you say if you're interviewing him, he won't just say country. He'll say country rock, or he
Okay.
has a lot of influences of country. As a matter of fact, a lot of members of his band came from metal. So some of their music, you can
Okay.
hear heavier riffs and things like that in there. But, with Cody, it was a combination of a lot of different things, right? Just his sound. He's never satisfied with, the music that he puts out as far as that being the best. He's always like, I can do better. And his next album, he puts that, he work on it. He tries to outdo the last one. So it kind of comes to a combination of the look, the sound, and really just the work ethic, which, I think all of our artists just have such an outstanding work ethic. But yeah, the countryside, I mean, you get these country artists that try to get up to the next level. And then you've got guys that are like, diamonds in the rough, like Cody, that are such talented guys. And it's just a matter of kind of getting more exposure for them.
And I want to thank you for correcting me on EPK and not just, that's what it is. So many people don't even correct me. They just go on with it. I was watching later. I'm like, God, I'm an idiot.
I do like the EVK though, because that can be like almost like our own proprietary EPK. So
see, there you
MVK
go.
EVK.
What I write down here? Okay, guys, I wrote something down in scratch there. When a band is looking to get picked up by a management team, do you want them to already have an EPK to send to you? Even though I know you probably helped create them, do you like that as far as it shows their motivation and their seriousness?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to have that. It does give a little bit of insight, but a lot of times, we've come across bands that don't have EPKs, but they have a lot of other stuff. They have a great website. We look at merch, like I said. We look at, do they build out a link tree and at least provide access to all of their pages in one area? But yeah, I mean, if you have an EBK, that's all bands should have an EBK. It doesn't matter if you're under management or not. I highly recommend that, because if you are going to get shopped in, whether it's by a label or a management company or anybody booking, having that EBK at hand is like a snapshot. It's basically like a resume for a band to say, hey, here's everything we've done, and here's what we are about. That's like basically like your business card. So we always tell bands, think of yourself as a business, right? You're a brand yourself well. And for us, seeing bands that have put in forth the effort to create a good website, think about their merch, think about the branding side of things is huge.
What would you say your end game is, as far as if an artist comes to you, you're going to build them? Are you going to try to grow them, shop them to like a huge label, or do you want to keep them and you go with them when they get pushed onto maybe a huge, universal record deal or something like that?
Yeah. So, the goal is to keep them on with us, right? We want to make sure, even if they're, if they're to the point of being like the next Metallica,
right,
then we want to make sure we're continuing to work with them. But it's our job to make sure that if we're, looking out for labels, that we find the best label, because a lot of bands will get hit up by labels, whether, small or medium sized ones. And it's really on us to kind of do the negotiating and make sure that those contracts are in the best favor of the artist.
Right.
But our end goal is to continue to work with them, managing them through. If they're on a label, they still are going to be managed. It's just a matter of us working with that label and making sure that everybody's on the same page.
On that note, do you get a lot of bands coming to you with other management teams, like bullshit ones that are hitting them up, blowing a bunch of smoke up their asses?
Oh, all the time.
How come you're not doing this for me? This guy said he could do this for me. How come you're not doing that?
Yeah.
What do you tell those guys?
Yeah, so we get a lot of that a lot. And one of the things when we talk to bands, if there is an interest on our end, we do spend a lot of time during the initial conversation talking about expectations, because I'm never going to promise, we don't like overpromise and underdeliver on it. We're going to say, here's what we can do for you, here's what we don't do. We want you to know straight, be as fully transparent as possible. But it aggravates me. And Jesse and Attila know this, that I get so frustrated. And it's a big part of like why we say artist first, is because there are so many labels, there's so many management companies out there that have really taken advantage of the artist and promising them the world, and then they do nothing for them. Labels, they'll say, hey, pay us this amount, be on our label, we're going to get you, here. And then they do, the band does all the marketing, gets them out there, and then they get shelved or dropped. And then it's like, now it's harder for them to get on a label because then they looked as used goods. They're basically like, well, why you were on this label and got dropped, so why am I going to take you on?
That's so crazy. That goes, what you just said right there follows very many industries besides just the music industry. You shop something around too much, no matter how good it is, people eventually don't want it. Yeah. It's crazy that you said that, because in the industry I'm in, it's the same thing. Not podcasting, I actually have a job. I got to make money somehow. This doesn't pay the bills, I promise you. So yeah, dude, is there anything that you would like to say that I haven't covered? But I did want to mention one thing. On that last note, it was either HBO or Netflix or one of those stations or channels or whatever did a special about fake managers and fake labels, where they somehow are able to raise money and pump it into. Do you ever run across people like that just on your day-to-day dealing with people in the music industry? Those people that are, you just know they're kind of full of shit, but they talk a good game.
Yeah. So, as MVK was taking off, we had a lot of success, right? We kind of, everybody knew us from the Maverick side. And then as MVK took off, we started getting approached by a lot of people that wanted to work with us. And while we love working with people, we love building up the community. We're very thorough, I guess you could say, on, making sure that we know the ins and outs and kind of investigating those people, because, we've been told, oh, we want to do this. We're going to help your bands do this. And if we don't feel like it's really in the best advantage of our artists, we just, we've had a lot of that. It's like, oh, we promised you we're going to do this. And even some of our artists, right, when we've taken them on, they were working with certain people prior to joining MVK, and we're like, oh yeah, they're going to do this, and that. Nothing ever happened. You hear crickets, nothing from them. And I said, well, you got taken. It's just, it's a, happens in this world. But where we come in is really on being able to kind of vet out those opportunities and say, this is a good opportunity, this one's shit, stay away from this one. Right. And that's basically how it is really on, we've been doing it long enough to know who the good people are and who the bad people are.
Last question I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to give you the floor to talk about whatever you want to talk about that maybe I didn't bring up. I'm sure there's all kinds of things I probably didn't ask that you want to get out there. But when you're looking to hire somebody to join the team to help you out with managing the artist, whether it's, for whatever the reasons is, publicist maybe, or different aspects, what kind of person are you looking for to join the team as you grow?
Yeah, so definitely want somebody who's outgoing, right? It's one thing to be introverted and whatnot, and you can kind of work through things. Maybe if you're on a computer all day, that's great. But for us, dealing with artists, dealing with people outside, looking for somebody that is outgoing, passionate about music, right? You have to love what you're doing. And I can say that everybody on our team is passionate about music. They want to work in a field that they feel rewarding, but it's something that's close to their heart. And ultimately, they're our family. So for us, we look for people that are have that creative mindset, innovative thinkers. And we don't require necessarily to have experience. Like, we will train people, we'll bring people in. Right. They have interns and other people that we've brought in that we've trained, because I want to get my foot in the door. I want to get in the music industry. I want to learn it. And really, they have the drive and the work ethic, then we can build off of that. And, one of the things that I'm probably most proud about was last year, kind of going back to our conversation earlier, we were all on a roll. We were at NAMM in January. Then we went to Chicago to see one of our bands. Then all of a sudden, everything just shut down, right? No live music, bands couldn't tour. And we were like, what the hell are we going to do now? It's, our bands were freaking out because they're like, we can't tour, we can't play live shows, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. And I told Jesse and Attila, I'm like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to utilize the time that we don't normally have, because we're so busy, to really strategize for MVK and also continue to help our bands, but spending a lot of time building out MVK. And we actually grew our the company, the staff, over the course of the pandemic. Because
Awesome.
we actually had the time to do that, and we were, strategizing on growth and where we wanted to head to.